On July 5, 1943, in the vast fields of Russia, a ferocious battle erupted, the Battle of Kursk, the largest clash in the history of World War II. Over 2 million soldiers, 6,000 tanks, and thousands of aircraft from two of the most powerful forces of the time, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, engaged in a life-and-death struggle. This wasn't just the biggest tank battle in history, it was the decisive turning point that shattered Hitler's ambitions on the Eastern Front. Imagine this: you're a Soviet T-34 tank driver, facing the terrifying war machines of Germany, the Panther and Tiger tanks, on a day that will decide the fate of the entire war. Will you survive? Will your side emerge victorious? Today, we'll dive into the Battle of Kursk, from secret plans and bloody clashes to the genius tactics that changed history. And I have a question for you: who do you think was the mastermind behind the victory at Kursk? Soviet General Zhukov, or German General Manstein? Let me know in the comments below. Now, let's begin this journey. To understand why the Battle of Kursk was so significant, we need to go back to the context of 1943. After a devastating defeat at Stalingrad in February 1943, Nazi Germany lost over 330,000 troops, a massive blow to Hitler's ambitions. The Soviet Union, under Stalin's leadership, began to regain the initiative on the Eastern Front. But Hitler wasn't ready to give up. He devised a new plan called Operation Citadel *, a massive offensive targeting the Kursk salient, a protruding area between Kursk, Oryol, and Belgorod, where the Soviets had amassed a large force. Hitler's goal was clear: destroy the Soviet forces at Kursk, disrupt their counteroffensive plans, and regain dominance on the Eastern Front. But what Hitler didn't anticipate was that the Soviets already knew his plan, thanks to a secret weapon: intelligence. Let's look at the role of intelligence before the battle. On the German side, since early 1943, reconnaissance flights and reports from the Abwehr, Germany's intelligence agency, identified the Kursk salient as a potential target. After their victory at Kharkov in March, Hitler and General Erich von Manstein believed they could crush the Soviets with the power of their new tanks, the Panther and the Tiger. But they underestimated their opponent. Meanwhile, the Soviets had a major advantage: the Lucy spy ring. From April 15th, Lucy, a network of spies operating deep within Germany, sent detailed information. Germany would deploy 50 divisions, 2,700 tanks, and attack from two directions: Oryol in the north and Belgorod in the south. This intelligence was further confirmed by Soviet scouts and a captured German officer's map in May. But intelligence alone wasn't enough. Two of the Soviet Union's most brilliant generals, Georgy Zhukov and Alexander Vasilevsky, fiercely debated how to respond. Zhukov, with his strategic vision, insisted, "We must build deep defenses to exhaust the Germans." Meanwhile, Vasilevsky argued, "Let's hold reserves to counterattack as soon as the Germans weaken." In the end, Stavka, the Soviet High Command, combined both ideas: deep defenses to wear down the Germans, and a counteroffensive to finish them off. At the same time, other fronts also impacted Operation Citadel. In May 1943, the Allies achieved victory in North Africa, and on July 10th, they landed in Sicily. This forced Germany to divert some air forces and fuel to support those fronts, significantly weakening their campaign at Kursk. And so, both sides were ready for a fateful battle. But who was better prepared? Let's find out in the next section. Before the first shots were fired at Kursk, both Germany and the Soviet Union poured everything they had into preparing for this battle. Let's take a look at the strength of both sides. The Germans *, Nazi Germany mobilized a massive force, 900,000 troops, including elite SS panzer divisions like Leibstandart, Das Reich, and Totenkopf. They had 2,700 tanks, including 350 brand new Panthers, 200 Tigers with thick armor and powerful guns, and 90 Ferdinands, a fearsome anti-tank self-propelled gun. Germany also deployed 2,050 aircraft and stockpiled 500,000 tons of ammunition and 150,000 tons of fuel. General Erich von Manstein led the southern thrust with the 4th Panzer Army, while Walter Model commanded the northern thrust with the 9th Army. Germany's plan was clear: attack from two directions, encircle the Soviet forces, and capture Kursk within days. But would this plan succeed? The Soviets prepared even more thoroughly. They mobilized 1.9 million troops across three fronts: the Central Front under Konstantin Rokossovsky, the Voronezh Front led by Nikolai Vatutin, and the Steppe Front commanded by Ivan Konev. The Soviets had 3.600 tanks, mostly T-34s and KV-1s, along with 20.00 artillery pieces. An overwhelming number, but what made the difference was the Soviet defensive system. They turned Kursk into an impregnable fortress, 8 defensive lines stretching hundreds of kilometers, with millions of anti-tank mines, 3.00 kilometers of trenches, and thousands of anti-tank guns. Zhukov declared, "We will make the Germans bleed here." And so, both sides were ready, Germany with its tank power and determination, the Soviets with their fortified defenses and counteroffensive plans. The battle was about to begin, and it would be more brutal than anyone could imagine. Which side do you think had the upper hand in the early days? Let me know in the comments. On July 5, 1943, Operation Citadel officially began. At 4:30 a.m., Hitler ordered, the 9th Army must seize Kursk from the north at all costs to crush the Soviet salient. In the north ***, Walter Model, commanding the 9th Army, led the attack from Oryol with 200 Panthers and 100 Tigers. Alongside the SS Leibstandart Division, they advanced 8 kilometers, striking the Central Front under Rokossovsky at Malorke-Changelj. But they were quickly halted at Ponyri, a heavily fortified Soviet stronghold. That day, Germany lost 50 tanks and 3.00 men, while the Soviets lost 80 tanks and 4.00 men. In the south ***, at the same time, Hitler commanded, the 4th Panzer Army will take Kursk from the south to secure our dominance. Erich von Manstein, with the 4th Panzer Army and SS divisions, Das Reich, and Totenkopf, attacked from Belgorod with 300 Panthers and 150 Tigers. They advanced 20 kilometers, pushing past Yakovlevo and putting heavy pressure on Vatutin's Voronezh front. But the cost was steep. Germany lost 30 tanks and 2.50 men, while the Soviets lost 120 tanks and 5.00 men. July 6 ***, Model pressed the attack in the north. Led by SS Leibstandart, they gained another 5 kilometers, capturing Olkovatka, but at a heavy cost, 80 tanks and 5.00 men. The Soviets also suffered. They lost 100 tanks and 6.00 men. In the south, Manstein and SS Das Reich took Zaitsevo, losing 40 tanks and 3.00 men. The Soviets lost 160 tanks and 7.00 men. July 7 ***, Model focused his assault on Ponyri, a place later called the Little Stalingrad, due to its ferocity. SS Leibstandart advanced just 2 kilometers, losing 40 tanks and 4.00 men. The Soviets lost 90 tanks and 5.00 men. In the south, Manstein's SS Totenkopf captured Hill 260.8, a strategic high point, but lost 30 tanks and 3.50 men. The Soviets lost 130 tanks and 6.00 men. July 8 ***, Model made a final push at Ponyri, gaining only 1 kilometer and losing 20 tanks and 3.00 men. The Soviets lost 60 tanks and 4.00 men. In the south, Manstein and SS Das Reich held Hill 260.8. But losses remained high, 20 tanks and 3.00 men. The Soviets lost 40 tanks and 3.50 men. July 9 ***, Model consolidated at Olkovatka but couldn't advance further, losing 20 tanks and 2.50 men. The Soviets lost 50 tanks and 3.00 men. In the south, Manstein and SS Totenkopf reached Oboyan, a key town, but lost 30 tanks and 4.00 men. The Soviets lost 100 tanks and 7.00 men. July 10 ***, the tide began to turn. Model was forced to retreat toward Oryol, losing 20 tanks and 2.50 men. The Soviets lost 70 tanks and 4.00 men. In the south, Manstein and SS Das Reich were halted at the Sel River, losing 30 tanks and 4.00 men. The Soviets lost 150 tanks and 8.00 men. July 11 ***, Model fell back to Oryol's defensive line, losing another 10 tanks and 1.00 men. the Soviets lost 30 tanks and 2,000 men. In the south, Manstein halted at Oboyan to consolidate his forces. In total, over these 7 days, Germany lost 400 tanks and 28,000 men, while the Soviets lost 600 tanks and 40,000 men. The first days of Operation Citadel showed unprecedented ferocity, but what would happen next? Could Germany continue its advance? Or would the Soviets strike back? Let's move to the decisive day, the Battle of Prokhorovka. On July 12, 1943, the fields of Prokhorovka became the stage for the largest tank battle in history. At 8 a.m., Hitler ordered, "Hold Prokhorovka and take Kursk, or the Eastern Front is lost." Paul Hauser, commanding Germany's 2nd SS Panzer Corps, led 294 tanks, including 100 Panthers, 90 Tigers, and 104 Panzer IVs, into battle against the Soviet 5th Guards Tank Army, led by General Pavel Rotmistrov, with 850 tanks, mostly T-34s and KV-1s. The sound of steel clashing echoed across the battlefield, with smoke and fire everywhere. After 8 hours of brutal fighting, Germany lost 180 tanks and 5,000 men, while the Soviets sacrificed 350 tanks and 10,000 men. Hauser was forced to retreat to Syaitsevo. The Battle of Prokhorovka was a devastating blow to the Germans. Konstantin Rokossovsky, commanding the Central Front, opposed an immediate counterattack in the north to preserve defenses. But Nikolai Vatutin, leading the Voronezh Front, urged a swift counteroffensive in the south. This decision shaped the next phase. July 13, Hitler, seeing defeat was inevitable, cancelled Operation Citadel. That same day, the Soviets launched Operation Kutuzov, a counteroffensive in the north. The 2nd Guards Tank Army attacked Model's 9th Army, pushing him back 20 kilometers to Bolkov. Germany lost 50 tanks and 6,000 men, while the Soviets lost 80 tanks and 4,000 men. In the south, Manstein and SS Das Reich defended Syaitsevo, losing 20 tanks and 2,000 men. The Soviets lost 60 tanks and 3,000 men. July 14, Operation Kutuzov continued to drive Model back to Oryol, costing Germany 40 tanks and 5,000 men. The Soviets lost 70 tanks and 3,000 men. In the south, Manstein and SS Totenkopf retreated to Belgorod, losing 30 tanks and 3,000 men. The Soviets lost 50 tanks and 3,000 men. July 15 to 16 the Soviets recaptured Ponyry and Bolkov from Model, with Germany losing another 40 tanks and 5,000 men. The Soviets lost 60 tanks and 4,000 men. In the south, Manstein withdrew to Tomarovka, losing 20 tanks and 1,000 men. The Soviets lost 20 tanks and 1,500 men. July 17 to 23 the Soviets launched Operation Rumyantsev in the south. On the 17th, the 6th Guards Army attacked Belgorod, costing Manstein 30 tanks and 2,000 men. The Soviets lost 40 tanks and 2,500 men. By July 23, Belgorod was liberated, with Germany losing 30 tanks and 3,000 men, and the Soviets losing 50 tanks and 4,000 men. July 24 to August 23, Manstein continued to retreat to Kharkov. From August 3 to 10, Operation Rumyantsev attacked Kharkov, costing Germany 80 tanks and 10,000 men. The Soviets lost 150 tanks and 12,000 men. On August 23, Kharkov was officially liberated, marking the Soviet Union's complete victory at Kursk. Germany lost another 70 tanks and 10,000 men, while the Soviets lost 150 tanks and 13,000 men. The Battle of Kursk was over, but the story doesn't end here. How did the Soviets manage to turn the tide so dramatically? Let's analyze the tactics of both sides. The Battle of Kursk wasn't just a clash of strength, it was a battle of minds between some of the greatest tacticians of the war. Let's break down the tactics of both sides. The Germans Nazi Germany bet on the power of their SS Panzer divisions and new tanks like the Panther and Tiger. The Panther had 80mm thick armor and a powerful 75mm gun, while the Tiger, with 100mm armor and an 88mm gun, was a terror on the battlefield. So why did they fail? First, Germany faced technical issues. The Panther, though advanced, frequently broke down and was prone to catching fire. Of the 350 Panthers at Kursk, over 100 broke down in the first week without even engaging in combat. Second, Hitler split his forces into two prongs, north and south, diluting their concentrated power. Finally, Germany underestimated the Soviet deep defense system, which bogged him down and caused massive losses. The Soviets the Soviets, under Zhukov and Vasilevsky, executed their deep defense strategy brilliantly. They built 8 defensive lines stretching hundreds of kilometers, with 1 million anti-tank mines, 3.00 kilometers of trenches, and thousands of anti-tank guns. Each line was designed to slow the Germans down, exhausting them before they could reach the main defenses. Additionally, the Soviets leveraged their numerical advantage. The T-34 tank, though not as powerful as the Panther or Tiger, was mobile, easy to produce, and vastly outnumbered the Germans. At Prokhorovka, the Soviets used a close combat tactic, charging directly into German formations to neutralize the long-range advantage of the Panther and Tiger. Another key factor was the coordination between defense and counteroffensive. After weakening the Germans, the Soviets immediately launched operations Kutuzov and Rumyantsev, striking at German weak points and forcing them into a defensive position. So, which tactic was more effective? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. The Battle of Kursk ended with a resounding Soviet victory, but the cost was immense. Let's look at the losses. The Germans Germany lost 500.000 men, 165.000 killed, 70.000 severely wounded, and 265.000 wounded or captured. They also lost 1.500 tanks, including 500 Panthers, 400 Tigers, and 600 Panzer IVs and Ferdinands, along with 3.155 aircraft and 5.00 guns. Germany's resources were depleted, oil reserves dropped to 40%, and production fell by 30%. The Soviets lost 863.000 men, 254.000 killed, 150.000 severely wounded, and 459.000 wounded or missing. They lost 2.586 tanks, mostly T-34s, along with 1.626 aircraft and 6.00 guns. However, the Soviet Union's production capacity remained intact, allowing them to quickly replenish their forces. Significance the Battle of Kursk was the decisive turning point of World War II. Germany lost the initiative on the Eastern Front, forced into a defensive stance. The defeat at Kursk paved the way for major Soviet campaigns like Operation Bagration in 1944, and ultimately the advance on Berlin in 1945. For the Soviets, Kursk was not just a military victory but a symbol of sacrifice and courage. Millions gave their lives to defend their homeland, and the victory at Kursk brought hope for a peaceful future. What are your thoughts on the Battle of Kursk? If you were a general, which tactic would you have chosen? Share your thoughts in the comments. The Battle of Kursk is not just a heroic chapter in history, it's a lesson in tactics, courage, and determination. From the smoke-filled fields of Prokhorovka, the Soviet Union wrote a new page in history, paving the way for their ultimate victory over Nazi Germany. But the story of World War II doesn't end here. In the next video, we'll explore Operation Bagration *, the largest Soviet offensive of 1944 that completely crushed Nazi Germany on the Eastern Front. Want to learn more? Hit that subscribe * button and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. And don't forget to leave your thoughts. Which tactic at Kursk impressed you the most? General Zhukov, Vasilevsky, or Manstein? Comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.